Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I've made it. Alhamdulillah. I hope you're doing well. Today is Wednesday, October 30th. And yet again, we are presented with an opportunity for hims and hers stock to cash in on people's misunderstanding of what is going on with the stock, what this company is about. We'll talk about that in a second. But first, let's talk about macro. Basically, the indices are flat. We got some economic news. We'll talk about that in a second. Russell 2000 is up a smidge. VIX is up 3.5%. Tesla is at 260, holding steady at that level. Rest of our watch list is basically in the red. We have PLL up 2.11%. We talked about PLL yesterday. So good timing there by us. HIMS is down 13.94%. As I mentioned, we'll talk about why that is. But guys, let's keep everything in perspective here in terms of where we are level-wise. Yeah, it's not Monday where we were literally printing money by the minute, but we're still at really elevated levels compared to where we were, only a month ago. Assalamu alaikum, Zuhair. Nice to see you. Fed, assalamu alaikum. Nice to see you. And BTC is close to 71,800. And exactly like I told you guys yesterday, 73,000 would be resistance for BTC. And we saw that it actually achieved all-time highs, but it wasn't able to hold that level. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth at this level, I predict. But then we'll go higher, inshallah. Dogecoin is holding steady at 16 cents per token, and Sol is at 173. So an opportunity to pick up at cheaper prices than what we've had in the past 2 days is what I'm seeing here. Let's talk about the economic numbers and whether they change anything about my assessment. So the U.S. economy grew at 2.8%. This was the third quarter growth, that is, which is less than expected, yes, but it's still 2.8%, which is not bad. And it's certainly not a recession. So there is some strength still in the U.S. economy. Now, 2/3 of that strength is coming from consumer spending. The other third is coming from federal government outlays. And so because there is somewhat of, not meeting expectations in terms of growth, there is still a reason for the Fed to cut interest rates in November and December, as the market is predicting, especially in light of the fact that if we look at our inflation numbers, we did get some good news. So the personal consumption expenditures price index, the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, rose 1.5% for the quarter. And remember, the Fed's target is 2%. We got a 1.5% reading. So that's good, right? But the Fed does like to exclude food and energy because those are very volatile. And so in order to actually keep track of the longer term trend, it likes to look at core PCE. Now, core PCE was 2.2% versus the 2% target. My question is, who cares? The 2% number is a made up number anyway. 2.2%, Crimea River. I don't really care. So in this regard, I think inflation has largely been controlled and reined in, and therefore there is some maneuvering room that the Fed has. If inflation had not been under control, then we're in a tough spot where the economy isn't really doing too poorly and inflation is still not under control. Why are we cutting interest rates? But since the economy is showing signs of slowing down and the inflation picture is under control, there is an argument for the Fed to cut interest rates, which is the main driver in this period for the prices of risk assets, which is the liquidity levels. I've been saying this all year now. Just follow liquidity levels. You'll figure out what the projection for risk assets is. Now, we did get some jobs data yesterday that did confirm what I just said with regards to the economy. We are seeing a slowdown, but it's still a strong economy. So, for example, the job openings number that we got yesterday, yes, it was down. It was the lowest number since July 2021. But if you look at the job openings before 2021, we're way above those levels. So we did have, the pandemic, and coming out of the pandemic and that kind of mixing of the jobs picture and the economic picture and the stimulus that came um, with the pandemic. But if you look historically, before the pandemic, the job openings number that we got is not bad at all. So we are seeing weakening in the economy, as I mentioned, but it's not at bad levels. And I think the Fed keeps in the back of its mind that the impacts of its rate hikes are lagging on the economy, and therefore there is a separation between the rate hike and the full effect of those rate hikes impacting the economy, and therefore what we're seeing right now may be foretelling of what is to come for the economy, and therefore there is some urgency to actually ease monetary policy and not wait for the full impact of the rate hikes to manifest on the economy. All right, so hopefully that's clear. With regards to the probabilities for interest rate cuts, there wasn't much change in them. And that's really what we wanted to see after the economic data releases for this week. Now, we're not over with these data releases. We still have data points coming out Thursday and Friday. But so far, so good. The probabilities of rate cuts are basically as they were prior to these readings. So we have close to a 97% chance of 25 basis point cut in November, and then 73% chance of another or a 50 basis point cut by December. All right, so looking at the S&P and what is up today, Google had some monster earnings. Microsoft reports earnings after close of the markets today. And semiconductors are taking it on the chin. Energy is doing pretty well. Perhaps this is associated with the VIX spiking a bit. As it relates to crypto, we can see in the past 30 days, really the most sound crypto out there, the Tesla of cryptos, the Bitcoin of cryptos that people don't recognize as being the Bitcoin of cryptos, Doge, is up 42% in the last month. BTC, I'm really surprised that it was even courageous enough to show its face, considering how much it underperformed Doge, up only 13% in the last 30 days. I'm joking, of course. Now, in terms of these returns, just a word of caution here. If you're looking at these returns and are like, hey, BTC is only up 13%, we're getting started on this bull run, maybe I should go down the market cap schedule here and look for smaller cap cryptos. Keep in mind, most cryptos are doing horribly. Most crypto, BTC is beating the vast majority of crypto. So unless you have some sort of insight about a crypto that makes you very confident that it's going to beat Bitcoin, then I would not go too heavy into alts. Obviously, with crypto, you have to understand that everything with crypto is a meme coin. All coins are meme coins. And Bitcoin maxis, you can send me emails if you'd like, but Bitcoin is a meme coin in the sense that the price of Bitcoin is a function of the strength of the network that Bitcoin has. So the more people trust Bitcoin, the more people are connected to its network, the higher the value of this network. That's really where the value of Bitcoin comes and why it's very hard to replicate, because it has so many users now and it has so many different nodes. Which means that this is not a cash flowing asset. This is not something that, if people just decide doesn't have a price, will still command a price, because it is in and of itself useful without people determining that it is, by using it. And so all cryptocurrency is meme coin. It goes up and down in price, not based on the cash flows, but based on how many people are talking about it at the time, how many people trust it, how big is its network, how many nodes does it have. And really the only use case for cryptocurrency that has proven to make sense is its use case as both a store of value and a means of exchange. So I say this because when you're betting on something else, on some other cryptocurrency, I have yet to see a cryptocurrency that is producing enough fees, enough net profit for the basically shareholders of the project, which are the token holders in the case of crypto, to justify the valuation that's being given to that project. If you look at other commenters on crypto, other YouTubers, social media personalities, the only way they value crypto is not by the cash flows, but by comparing it to other cryptos. Well, Sol has revenue that is, half of what ETH is. I'm just giving a random example, but it's at 1/4 the market capitalization. Therefore, it's undervalued. This is what you hear in terms of valuing cryptocurrencies. You don't hear, oh, well, this is how much I think holders of cryptocurrencies are going to reap in terms of cash flows. This is my projection for the growth of these cash flows over the next few years. This is how I'm going to discount these cash flows. This is why I'm using this discount rate to discount those cash flows to find out the current present value of this token. That's what you don't hear. It's either comparables valuations and it's talk about, how much publicity each cryptocurrency is getting. So I don't know if I was able to explain that in any degree of uh, making it understandable. I am sick, so my ideas are fuzzy right now. So bear with me while I get through this live. All right. So if we look at the categories here for cryptocurrencies and how they've done in the last month, meme coins have done the best in the last month. Meme coins are up 19%. Followed by Bitcoin, it's up 13.5%. And by the way, this, just to further drive home the point that Bitcoin performs better than the vast majority of other cryptocurrencies. You can see Bitcoin is up 13.5%. But if you look at the other categories, DeFi, I don't know what that is, Outer Lands Fundamental Index, smart contract platforms, Ethereum, NASDAQ, S&P, AI tokens, Bitcoin performed better than all of those. So it was the second largest gainer in terms of category, if you consider Bitcoin a category in and of itself. Second behind only meme coins. All right, let's talk about the stock of the day, Hims and Hers Health. Ticker symbol Hims, because I guess they haven't been sued yet by the woke crowd for just having Hims, not having Hers in their ticker symbol. But it is down 14% today. And the reason why it's down 14% today is after Novo's semaglutide was taken off the shortage list. So for those who are unfamiliar, Hims and Hers has this online pharmaceutical service, basically, where it provides different drugs. They're basically a legal online drug dealer, and they provide often compounds of different drugs that are at a and they provide them at a much cheaper price than the brand names. And obviously, the brands, when they can, they try to get regulation to stop them from doing that. So shares of Hims and Hers fell 15% Wednesday following news that Novo Nordisk's weight loss drug Wegovy is no longer considered to be in short supply in the US, which means that the compound that Hims and Hers creates, because of the exception that is made for medicines that are in short supply, it no longer applies for Hims, and maybe they will be told to discontinue their providing of GLP-1 drugs. So that's why it's down today. And the bigger companies like Novo Nordisk are always campaigning for compound drugs to be discontinued. So, for example, Novo Nordisk asked the FDA to have semaglutide placed on the demonstrable difficulties for compounding list, arguing that compounded versions pose safety risks. Yeah, I'm sure that's why they're trying to stop compound medicines that are way cheaper than what they're selling. All right, so here's the point that I want to make about HIMS if you're worried about your HIMS position. And this is not financial advice, but this is how I'm thinking about this. Between 2019 and 2023, you can see that the revenue of this company 10x. And zero of this 10x in revenue was due to GLP-1. GLP-1 is simply one example of a medicine that Hims can bring online and sell at a cheaper price. And there is no shortage of other examples of much bigger, in fact, markets that Hims can serve. And there'll always be markets that Hims will serve. And sometimes that and can expand into. And sometimes there'll be regulation that stops it from creating some sort of drug, and that's to be expected when you're talking about pharmaceutical companies and pharmacies. That's to be expected. Now, my experience tells me as an investor that these are typically very good times to pick up shares, and especially considering Hims is a heavily shorted stock, we often get really good opportunities when news like this comes out. So hair loss, mental health, diabetes, these are all multi-billion-dollar markets that Hims and Hers serves and can expand into with more offerings. And the important thing is to understand that Hims has proven with this weight loss offering that it spun up and started making money off of in very short period of time, that it can do this with other medications. And so it's the business model that you should be focused on and whether or not that business model works. And so if we look at the financials for Hims and Hers to see, is this a company that's in an easy business to make money in or not? So we look at the margins for this company. So if we look at the margins, not only have they been able to 10x their they've been able to 10x their revenue in 5 years, and they're expecting 50% growth in the next 12 months. But their margins are improving as well. So if you look at gross profit margin in December 19, if we were looking at the last 12 months, that's 54%. December 2020, that's 73%, 75, 77, 82% was the gross margin of this business in December of 2023. And if you look at the last 12 months, it's improved a bit as well, 82.2%. So this is a company that is in a easy, or I would categorize the business as, just based on the profit margin, that this is an easy way to make money. and it has the growth numbers to back up the. And when I say easy way to make money, I mean, for every dollar, how much is it keeping for itself? That's what I mean. I don't mean, operating the business is necessarily easy, but it's, all else being equal, if you're comparing margins of 80% to margins of 10%, you have to sell a dollar to retain 10 cents. That's a much harder business to make money in. So we have an easy business to make money in. And whenever I'm investing, I'm looking for businesses that have an easier time making money, and that means higher margins, higher profitability margins. And so that's what we have with HIMS. We'll bounce back from this dip in HIMS's price, and inshallah, I will be here to tell you I told you so. Inshallah. All right, guys. Leave a like if you haven't liked already. Become a PIF member if you aren't a PIF member yet. I want to say salam alaikum to everyone who came. Really appreciate you guys coming. And especially because it's not at the normal time that I go live. So really appreciate that. Musa says, salam alaikum. I have some Ethereum that I would like to get rid of. Which crypto should I invest in? Should I follow the how I would invest email? Yeah, that's what I would do, because that's how I would invest, and that's why I send it to members. Rashad says, Alhamdulillah, Rakaan sounds better than yesterday. Thank you, Rashad. I appreciate it. I made sure that I was fully caffeinated and well fed before I went live so that I had enough energy. Thank you so much. PIF is the way to invest. Join and you won't regret it. I really appreciate that, Rashad. Thank you so much. Fahad says, is HIMS and First Solar a buy at the moment? Well, check our watch list, Fahad, and our buy below and sell above prices. Supermicro Computers is one of those companies that is in a harder space to make money. So I saw the dip today, and we actually did a deep dive on Supermicro Computers for our elite members not too long ago, and I ended up passing on the company. And so if you look at the margins here for Supermicro Computer, one of the reasons why I passed on it, if you look at the margins, 14.1% here in June of 24, and that's below what it had in June of 23, which was 18%. So this is a far cry from something like HIMS, which has 80% plus and improving margins. So if I have a dollar to invest, am I going to give it to the business that only retains 15 cents on every dollar of revenue that it generates, or am I going to give it to the business that's retaining 80 cents on every dollar of revenue that it generates? There are other considerations as well that you have to look at, but all else being equal, obviously I'm going to go with the easy way to make money, comparably speaking. Do you have any comments on the lithium market, like Piedmont Lithium? I'm confused as why it shot up today. So I actually went over Piedmont Lithium yesterday, so I would encourage you to, and their updates. So I would encourage you to take a look at that. Research Coin. I haven't looked at Research Coin. Joseph, wa alaikum salam. Thank you for being here. Perhaps I will take a look. Dr. Boss, wa alaikum salam. Should we expect a major correction in the second half of 2025, considering the greed in the markets? Price only goes up. I think you should always be ready for a correction in the sense that you have enough cash cushion that's not invested to where if there is a correction, you're not panicking and you're ready to buy more of the top 1% of assets that inshallah we hold in PIF. So that would be my strategy. Trying to predict macro is actually extremely tough. How about APA and MMM. Not sure. Thanks, wise man. Allah bless you too. Hikmet says, Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. Hikmet, nice to see you. Oh, thanks, Sammy. Sammy says, I'm a PIF member and I would like to thank you for the help. I was able to make a good amount of money because of you. Well, thank you so much, Sammy. That makes my day for sure. Him CEO is also pro-Palestine. That's actually how it hit my radar in the first place. So they it actually at the time the stock was punished. This was right before earnings. The stock was punished a lot, and then because he made pro-Palestinian remarks, and I was like, well, I'm going to see if I can buy a few shares, and if it's a good company, I'm going to tell PIF members about it. And so I took a look into it and I was like, this is a great company, actually. It's hitting on all cylinders. And so, subhanAllah, his, uh, his principled stance led me to his company. Sammy says, I passed on PLL because I wasn't comfortable with it and went with Arcadium, but now Arcadium was bought by Rio. Alhamdulillah, I made money, but I want to get back on a lithium stock. What do you suggest? Well, I'm not going to say PLL because you passed on it because you weren't comfortable with it. So right now I like PLL. And if another one hits my radar, I will let you know, inshallah, Sammy. And with that being said, like this live if you enjoyed it. I'd really appreciate that. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live next. Sometimes, I try to do the lives earlier in the day, but sometimes I can't. Today, I was still, recovering from the flu, so I came in later. So if you'd like to be notified when I go live, hit the notification bell and become a PIF member. Join our community. Our community becomes better the more halal-conscious, sincere investors are part of it. With that being said, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And until next time, make sure to take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum and peace be upon you all.